So the cameraman obviously misunderstood the director's instructions and stopped the video instead of pausing it. So I do apologise. So yet again, this video is going to be in two parts. So while Ollie, our esteemed director, sleeps his way through the rest of it, we'll get back to what I was trying to do before I stuck ink all over my Whisper White cardstock. I'm thinking of actually renaming my videos rather than how to craft, rather than how not to craft. But as I said before, we all have mishaps. It's good sometimes, I think, to just see that happens really in real life. So I've got my 3.5 by 5.5 piece of clean Whisper White cardstock, and I'm just going to take a corner of that stamp, and I'm seriously going to get that out of the way before I stick ink where I shouldn't. So that's just the half of the stamp. I've just picked out these little elements which match in with the designer series paper, and then I'm going to put that in the middle of my card. Seriously, can this get any worse? Probably should have had a cup of coffee or something before I started this. What do you think? Right, so there's the centre of the card. So moving on to the front of it, I've cut out using the layering oval framelits. I've cut out this piece in Blackberry Bliss, and I've used I think it's probably that one. I've used the largest of that one, so you've got the crinkled effect. And then for the central piece, I've used one of the plain ones. Use that. Yeah, I think it's that one. Used a slightly larger one on that card, but again I'm wanting to have a bit more of the Blackberry Bliss to show, so it's tying in with the card base. Now, if you've watched my videos before, you'll know that I've used this set before, and I always rave over them. They're a brilliant addition to your crafting supplies if you've got a big shop. And again, I've said this before, when they come from Stampin' Up, they're all nicely stuck to a piece of card, but once you then start using them, that becomes a little bit more difficult to keep them. These magnetic sheets are absolutely brilliant for thinlits, framelits, very cheap to source from Amazon. So again, a little tip, they are worth that little bit of investment. So I've stamped the sentiment again from this stamp set, "You Are the Happy to My Day." Now I stamped that on a piece of Whisper White cardstock before cutting it out using my Big Shot. It's much easier to do it that way than try to stamp on the already cut out piece of card. So I'm going to just put this ink pad away because it's not the greatest day, is it, for my crafting exploits. I'm sticking that onto there. I'm going to add the embellishments to that in a moment. I just wanted to say that obviously the Big Shot is a brilliant tool to have, but of course it is expensive. But you do only buy it once, and then it opens up a whole new world of crafting to you. But accepting that that isn't always possible, how else could you perhaps make something like that? Well, I came up with this idea, and this is just a piece of Blackberry Bliss card, and that I cut that at 2.25 by 3.5, and a piece of white Whisper White at 2 by 3. And all I've done there is using this detailed trio punch, which is £19. I've just rounded off the edges of the bigger Blackberry Bliss piece of card. I've stamped it with the same stamp as that, and then I've just added this floral detail using this element of the punch. So it's really not the end of the world without a big shot. You can always improvise and come up with another idea. It looks just as effective. So I could put that on there. If I did that, I probably wouldn't add the extra floral bits because I think that looks quite pretty all by itself. So I just wanted to share that with you, but I'm going to go back to doing this one. And I'm taking this punch, which is the Blossom Builder punch. Now that actually coordinates this stamp set out of the annual catalogue, A Bunch of Blossoms. You can see how that will fit with the punch. I have to say that I got round to buying this. I hadn't got round to buying that yet because every time I think about it, there's another stamp set I've preferred. And this actually does work quite well on its own. So what I'm going to do is take a piece of crushed curry, and I want 4 of these. So that is my 4 flowers. Try and get rid of the rubbish there. And then the piece of old olive, I want the leaf stamp from that, and I want 4 of those. So as you can see, I've just used some oddments of card rather than taking out of a brand new sheet. So although there comes a limit where you have to say, do you know what, I need to offload some of my offcuts, I do try to hang on to them, as many as I think is a good idea, because that way you're not wasting the card. Not too much you could do with a piece like that, but it's great for cutting things out. So that's my 4 leaves. Now as you can see with this, the leaves are going under this piece, so I'm just going to put a bit of snail there to add the leaves, and I just want to give a little bit of authenticity to them. So all I'm doing is just bending them slightly. That's using my bone folder. Nearly stuck that to the sheet as well. Probably best I don't go out on my own today. Now I'm going to do that slightly differently. I'm going to put it on this side. A bit more in there. Take the one I've actually bent back. It's an even better idea. Right, so that's my leaves there, and I'm going to do it diagonally across here. So again, I'll bend them back. Oh, hello, have you woken up? Is it meeting with your approval? I'm not sure, I think he's going to get back to us on that one. Right, so there are my 2 leaves, or 2 sets of leaves. Now that is ready now to go onto the front of my card. So I'm going to do that. I could find my stamping dimensionals. Perhaps we could pause it this time. So I'm back. Heard of Friday afternoon cars. This is a Sunday morning video. I think I've got to make a mental note that I don't do things on a Sunday. Right, so I've got now 5 dimensionals. Really? I'm losing the will to live, so I'm sure you probably are as well. I do apologise. I will attempt to make the next one slightly better. Oh, there it is, it's stuck there now. Goodness sake. Stick a bit more snail down there. Right. Centralising it there. Pushing it down. So now all I've got to do, she said, is make the flowers. 2 ways of just giving them a bit of detail. You can either bend them with your bone folder, or we can use the new take and pick tool and use the stylus on that. And this is my Big Shot brush foam mat. So I've explained before, you do need something to push down this stylus into, and all you're doing is just running that down the petals, and you can see it then starts to curl up. So either way works. You get a better curl in with this tool, but it's not essential. All you need to do is just lift the petals up a little bit just to give them a bit of life. So I will then stick that together with some snail. And then offset them so you've got a flower. Now you could add wink of Stella to that. Unusually for me, I'm not going to this time, because I think by the time I put the central faceted gem in it, that sort of gives it enough glimmer. Because it's got that sort of autumnal feel to it, it perhaps doesn't require the sparkle that perhaps other projects do. So that's my 2 flowers. These are the gold faceted gems. I'm taking the smallest one, just popping that into the centre. And I'm going to secure that to the top here, on top of the leaves, and I'm going to use some glue dots. This is bound to go horribly wrong, but the best way to use a glue dot is to attach it to what you're trying to stick down with it. If you just lift it off, I'm going to go with 2 because I just want that extra bit of security for my flower. So I'm going to stick that one there.
and that one on there. Try not to cover up my down slightly. That's a lovely sentiment, just to sort of tell somebody what they mean to you, really, isn't it? One of those random cards you just send because you want to show somebody how much you think of them. So that's the finished card. I'm probably going to regret this, but it's always good to add some decoration to the envelope. There we go. That's what I did. On a good day, this is what I did. Who knows what's going to happen now, but let's give it a go. So taking the blackberry bliss again. Get some of this debris out of the way. Stamps it. So I've gone with two main ones in the middle of the envelope. Just with a little gap in between. And then with the same sort of gap, I'm taking this half, because if that would follow on, so I'll take this half of the stamp onto the envelope. Just put up a tiny bit of ink, but that's okay because the address would be written on there, so that's fine. So for this one, I'm going to go with the end bit of it because that would be the pattern as it would follow through. If that makes sense. So a matching envelope to go with the card. Well, I hope that's given you some entertainment, if nothing else. Hopefully it's also given you some ideas. We were encouraged on stage to think about simple stamping, so using just stamps with card and paper. So I'm going to go away and give that some thought, which given today is probably not a bad idea for me, and I will be back very soon. Until then, take care, bye.